Thank you so much. Namaskar and greetings from the Center for Ganga River Basin Management and Studies led by the Indian Institute of Technology. At the outset, I would like to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity, even though I am not connected with the theme of the symposium, that is separation science and technologies, though I did work on separation processes at one time long back as my PhD work. Presently, I am before you to give you information and my viewpoints on the prestigious programs that the government of India has undertaken. Okay. So I would like to talk about the concept of Arth Ganga. There's a sentiment that was invoked by none other than the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Sri Narendra Modi ji, in the first Ganga Council meeting that was held in 2019 December in Kanpur, wherein he talked about Arth Ganga. Subsequently, we have taken this clue from him and try to interpret what does Arth Ganga mean. Okay, and we recently had what we call it as the fifth edition of the India Water Impact Summit, wherein we try to have a discussion and come to consensus what does it mean by Arth Ganga. And Arth Ganga actually now means river conservation, synchronized development. And this should be the key concept in driving the three high social impact projects of the government of India, that is Namami Gange, Swachh Bharat program and the Jal Jeevan mission in achieving the holistic outcome. I will further elaborate on what and how Arth Ganga can be implemented, and these three prestigious programs can be used. The main mantra of the water sector project is, if you have to make it sustainable, is value water. Okay, and in fact, yesterday we had the World Water Day, and the main theme of this was valuing water. And this is something that about 10 years back, when we started preparing Ganga River Basin Management Plan for the Government of India, we actually introduced this concept that if the river restoration and conservation has to be sustainable, we have to make sure we value water and transform Ganga. And now we have to perform this journey from just the slogan hearing to action. And this is where we would like to use the sentiments of Arth Ganga. Now, what is the complete meaning of Arth Ganga? Earth, as you all know, is a word derived from Sanskrit. Okay, and earth has, of course, a narrow meaning, means it is related to economic, but the earth also means the spirit of it. Okay, and when we talk about Ganga, Ganga is not just one stream that we all know that originates from Gaumukh or Gangotri and goes and confluences or meets with the ocean at Ganga Sagar. Ganga is much more than that. Ganga is the culture of Indian rivers, and in a way, in our Sea Ganga, we are making sure, and the government also has accepted that Ganga means all rivers of the country or world for that matter. So Ganga is just a symbol of all rivers. And when we say Ganga or river, river means the entire river basin, and that includes all water bodies in the basin, be it wetlands, be it small drains, be it lakes, reservoirs, be it artificially created or naturally available to us. And that's the concept of Ganga, and we believe, as has been given in this shloka, which is from the Bhagavad Gita, wherein the Lord says, Strota Sama Asmi Janvi, that I am Ganga, and Ganga means all rivers and the entire river basin that way. So it is with this concept the government of India is now working on. But the government of India invariably faces two sides, and these two sides appear to be conflicting with each other. One side is talking about the river conservation, and this is typically from the groups which represent faith leaders, civil society organization, and the other group which talks about jobs, employment, economy, typically referring to the development. And this is the group that is represented by the industry, businesses, contractor groups, and so on and so forth. Now, government of India is confronted with these two sides. Okay, the left side, the faith leaders, CSOs, civil society organization, they talk more on based on high and traditional knowledge and the wisdom and the long-term perspective. While the right side, which is the industry group, they typically talk based on the modern science and typically short and medium term perspective. Okay, but the government of India is confronted with this. Now, what we are trying to show and what Prime Minister has given, these two are not really actually confronting viewpoint. So is it possible for us to make sure that these two giant lions can become a one voice, and that is what is called as the Arth Ganga? And in other words, what we are saying is it possible and can we make it? In reality, it is river conservation and development should be the two sides of the same coin. Okay, and that is what the river conservation actually means. Okay, now how can we take this concept forward? Okay, for that we need to have some kind of sentiments or the guiding principles, and that our Prime Minister on number of occasions has said that, and we are trying to through Sea Ganga influence the government, impress on the government that that's the way that we need to talk. Yes, we need to use modern science, technology, but it's very important to not forget the traditional wisdom. So that's very important. At the same time, we can talk about globally, but start acting locally. And the third guiding principle is, yes, we do talk about that is imbibed in our culture. We do talk about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, but action has to be at least take holistic responsibility of immediate family, community in which we live, the locality in which we live, the city or state we belong to, and finally the nation. So that's the spirit, that should be the guiding principle for all this. And it is this objective, very important high social impact water sector programs have been undertaken or launched by the government of India. The first time when the government came, Prime Minister Modi took over, he was very passionate about Swachh Bharat mission. And yes, that has been implemented, and we now have 6.5 years of experience of implementing the Swachh Bharat mission. Then simultaneously, the Namami Gange program was started, and I will give you just brief details of that. And in the second term, we have started the Jal Jeevan mission. The objective of this Jal Jeevan mission is every household should have water connection, and we should make sure that the water is delivered to every house through tap, and the tap is functional all the time, and it not only delivers the appropriate quantity of water that is required, but also of adequate quality. So that is the larger vision. The main challenge, as I will discuss on this, it requires proper coordination. And even today, these three programs, though they have been executed by the same ministry, that is Ministry of Jal Shakti. In fact, this was the ministry that was carved out to ensure that the delivery is done on high social impact water sector programs by combining Ministry of Drinking Water Supply and Sanitation, as well as the Ministry of Water Resources Development, Ganga Regeneration and River Development. And now we have this ministry which is responsible for delivering all these three programs under the Ministry of Jal Shakti. But a lot needs to be done in terms of coordinating. Just to give you an idea to all the participants and our foreign friends, what does Swachh Bharat mission means and what was the outlay of that? Okay, so this was this slide, the background that you see is the outlay that we had for the Swachh Bharat mission in the first phase, that is was divided into Swachh Bharat Gramin, that is rural, and Swachh Bharat urban, and we had an outlay of something like $15 billion and $9 billion for the urban and the Gramin. And the objective was basically to ensure that every household, every community has toilets. So basically we set our target to ourselves that we want to become an open defecation free country. Yes, the government statistics do tell us that by and large we have achieved this, and not only we say that, but by and large most of the reports and globally it is accepted that India has done remarkably in terms of making open defecation free country. But the story doesn't end there. That is not the thing. The very objective of making open defecation free country is to ensure that people are healthy. Okay, and so just making toilets is not going to, yes, immediately it appears that we do have relatively better clean environment in villages or in urban sector, because we don't see as much of open defecation. But then we have to worry about where does this waste go. Okay, and that is where the challenge lies ahead of us. And it is with this the urban Swachh Bharat mission has been launched, and of course there is a second phase of urban Swachh Bharat mission Gramin as well, wherein an outlay of $20 billion has been made during 21 to 26, and in this financial year we have already seen an allocation of substantial amount in the budget, and there are plans and preparations to start this immediately when the new financial year starts. Okay. So these are some of the objectives. I will not go into each and every detail. This is for the information, but I will come to the challenges and opportunities that we have. Similarly, Namami Gange program, the objective was to restore Ganga. So it was an integrated conservation mission approved as a flagship program by the Union government in 2014, and an outlay of about 20,000 crores, that is 2.9 billion was there. Okay, and of course on an absolute scale, if you look at it, yes, there are number of projects, number of places, activities have happened, but the question is where are we in terms of the river cleanup? do the people see that yes, river has changed in the last 5 years, 6 years or so, and that's the question that we need to address. That's the larger question. If you look at the challenges and opportunities that were there when we started this Namami Gange program, number of these circles that you see, the issues that we had. And yes, most of the issues we have worked on that, but the extent of work that has been done in each of these is, I would say, on an absolute scale may appear to be high, but on a relative scale in terms of how much we need to achieve, I would say it is essentially negligible. And so, and not only that, the sustainability of this is an issue, and that is where we have to work on. In a similar fashion, yes, we have launched the Jal Jeevan mission, both urban and rural, with an objective as providing water, and that's the outlay that we have of US $50 billion. Okay, and out of that we already have seen approval of about $7 billion US for the financial year 21-22, and we are planning for that kind of thing. But then we need to make sure that we achieve this objective. How will we achieve this objective? And that is where I say the Swachh Bharat mission, Namami Gange program, and the Jal Jeevan mission, they have to be executed in a coordinated way. Because when I have to deliver water to every household, it is not just laying pipelines and providing taps. It is also to ensure from where the water will come. If my rivers and water bodies are not restored and conserved, from where will I get this water? Okay, that's number one question that we have to answer. Okay, and second thing is, when we get water from the tap, okay, it also generates wastewater. So every tap and a couple of households together are responsible for creating a drain which is a dirty drain. Okay, and how do we take care of that? That's a big challenge. That is what we need to talk about. Okay, and therefore I would like to talk more about the challenges that we have and opportunities that we have from this. The center for all this execution has to be a river basin and river regeneration and conservation. And this is necessarily a long-term process which involves number of steps. Okay, starting from understanding what it is, communicating that understanding, and when we are talking about water, we have to understand that it's a social issue, and until we make sure that people negotiate on the issues, otherwise we end up fight between one state versus another state, one town versus another town, upstream towns, downstream towns, and all this kind of thing. And it's very important that people come to the table and start negotiating it. Now, how do we negotiate when we don't understand, when we don't have a proper information and data, and even if we have partially that, we don't communicate that and do not put it into the public. So the first three steps are the most challenging step, and the remaining, of course, but then unfortunately what happens, because we have a limited time and we need to show results on the ground, we straight away jump to the last three steps in doing. And this is where river basin planning is very, very important. And it is a cyclic process, and we should keep learning. Fortunately, the government of India has accepted this in principle, but far more, much more needs to be done in terms of its implementation. And that is where, as a scientist, we have a role to ensure that we develop good understanding using all possible modern tools and techniques and technology that are available to us. Unfortunately, very little, though substantial, we were talking about digital India, so on and so forth, but very less information is available in terms of water bodies. And this is one thing that I have been impressing on the government. We present financial economic budget every time to the parliament. Why should we not start practicing on preparing a water budget? Let there be a union water budget, let there be a state water budget, let there be a water budget for each and every municipal corporation, and so on and so forth. So we need to reach to that level if you want to make sure that the things are sustainable. Another major challenge that we face is the coordination. Okay, and as you all know, in such kind of programs, there have to be definitely various kinds of actors and stakeholders, starting from politicians, bureaucrats, technocrats, academicians and researchers, and they all come from various agencies, be it they come from central government, state government, local government, other representatives on one side who are responsible basically for implementation, and then other side coming from media, civil society organization. And it is important that we bring in alignment of their interests, and this interest de-alignment typically happens because the various stakeholders stay for different times. Residence time is very different, as we understand in our processes. There is a concept of residence time, so there is also a concept of residence time of the various this thing. If the government is stable, we can expect 5 years of residence time at least. But so far as the major decision makers and policy makers are concerned, their residence time is desperately low for these kind of programs. Like if we talk about the highest level of bureaucracy, not more than 1 year, 1.5 years, or at most 2 to 3 years or so. And that's a big challenge. The another challenge that we face is we work on symptomatic treatment. Okay, so when we started, for example, Ganga Basin, Ganga cleanup program, we only looked at the mainstem of the Ganga, okay, and built some kind of treatment capacity and some measures. But in my opinion, in our opinion, this is kind of creating or trying to build a inverse pyramid, that we start from the tip and then somehow believe that we will be able to create this kind of pyramid. I think the trend has to change. We have to make sure that we start building right kind of pyramid, that is, instead of symptomatic treatment, we go to the root treatment of the cause. And that means we have to start talking about improving the lower order rivers, and if you improve the lower order river basins, the top order rivers will automatically become good. And to make such a kind of base, every citizen, every national has to put a brick in developing such a kind of brickwork, and that's where the participation and awareness of the people is, in real sense, is very important. And this is one. So every river has to be taken care of, every small drain has to be taken care of, every water body has to be taken care of, and this is the thing that we have. This cannot be done by top-down approach. Government can of course sensitize people, and lot has happened on that front, but much more needs to be done in terms of people actually contributing to making sure that the water bodies and rivers are regenerated. Fortunately, we have motivating driving mechanisms for that. Okay, we are a country wherein we believe a lot in faith. Okay, so we need to use faith, belief and fear, whether it is fear of God or fear of community, society or law. It is appropriately that we need to be using. And of course, we are no behind in science and technology, but that science and technology and our wisdom has to be combined properly. And of course, everybody has to contribute in terms of resources, whether it is physical. Just these numbers that I give, absolute scale, these numbers look very, very high. But believe me, these kind of spending as a nation, we have to do it on a continuous basis. It cannot be a program based approach, it has to be a planned approach. And this kind of budget has to be there. And so from where the resources is going to come, unless until each individual starts making sure that it is his responsibility to deliver. Okay? And the key concept behind this is, by and large, we have made sure that we turn our back towards the rivers and the water bodies. So our focus has to, if all the three missions have to be successful, the focus has to be, we ensure that our water bodies are developed and the economy is around the water body. We cannot turn back to our water bodies and say we will develop as a nation. That cannot happen. So we do talk about economic sectors which are related to the river and water bodies, be it forestry, be it industry, be it agriculture, be it navigation, energy, tourism, and education and culture. But these three major programs have to be linked together. Swachh Bharat mission, Namami Gange program, they are part of one wheel, have to be part of one wheel, and we can appropriately use the important communication tools, be it Swachh Bharat, be it vocal for local, be it one district, one product, be it Make in India, be it Digital India, and these are very, very effective policy tools that the Prime Minister and has been outlining and communicating that. But it is our responsibility to understand holistically the meaning of this. Okay, and I will give a small example of how this is important when we have to deliver the Jal Jeevan mission. As I said, laying pipelines and providing taps is relatively simple, but we need to make sure that we ensure that the water bodies are maintained. And what do we do conventionally? And this is for every one of us to think about. Typically, in most of the towns are our residences, localities, we bring in water from long distances. If you look at most of our urban town, we import water, we bring water not less than 50 kilometers distance, and then we take the wastewater from our towns over a long distance, and somehow we have this practice that let it go out of the town, let it go out of the locality or cities or whatever, and then we try to build infrastructure such as sewage treatment. Now this is very expensive, unaffordable, and more than that, it is does not give any benefit to the cities and the town. The drains remain dirty, the water bodies in the city remain dirty by this kind of approach. And this is where we need to make sure that we go for a new approach. A paradigm shift is brought in terms of how do we tackle wastewater, and we have to avoid the extremities. So we go for decentralization to the extent possible. We also understand the meaning of reuse and recycle. In our opinion, we should use the water for making sure that our water bodies are developed, and then use the local water bodies as resource for our water supply to that town, rather than bringing water from a long distance. And that's the concept that we would like to have. So we again need to change, and all scientists and academicians have to think over this, that do I talk about reusing my wastewater and recycling back into the locality, or I use the sewage treatment, electromechanical unit operation appropriately, and also use the nature-based treatment and make sure that the water bodies in the locality are recovered, and then I use that as a source of water to use the water again. So this is what we are proposing. As yet, the government by and large has accepted this. I sincerely wish that this is implemented, and I will show you through a short video of a minute or so that this can be done at all levels, whether it is household level or community level or at the town level. STPs or sewage treatments are no more smelling or dirty looking if you understand it properly. So this is a small household level STP, which I believe in most of the situations can be done. Okay, so we collect the entire wastewater and give a combination of treatment so that aesthetics is maintained, and all combination including root zone and the mechanical treatment like immobilized bed treatment or attached growth system is used appropriately. But finally, the delivery is that I need to make sure that a water body is maintained. And what is the concept of water body? Water body means that aquatic life in the water, and this is where we have tried to show the three layers of this, wherein an artificial water body is maintained and the aquatic life is maintained. As you can see, we have turtles, we have fish, and this is what should be our dream, that each and every local water body and the drain that we have, okay, maintain, sustain. And then if that is true, then I can take water for various needs, including garden or whatever, appropriate treatment for drinking purposes. So I think this is what we need to convert a challenge into opportunities, and if we do that, every citizen will be able to put a brick into creating a large base of the pyramid that I talked about. So this is in brief. In the interest of the time, I do not have this, but if there are any questions, obviously I'll be able to address this. So this is a concept which we have included in the manual that is prepared for river restoration and conservation, which was released by Ministry of Jal Shakti, and I'm sure if we can communicate this, and that's why I was very happy that I was given this opportunity, so that some of these things can give to the larger society, particularly the academic and the researchers, so that we can develop more technologies, more ways and means of doing things. Okay, and so it is important that we move away from just the slogans, but be serious in terms of action. All 130 crore people have to put in hand to build the nation, to build the water security. It cannot be only the government's program, and we have to understand these programs very well and make sure how do we contribute into this in a smarter way. Thank you very much for this opportunity. If there are any questions, I will be happy to take it.